Hello, and welcome back to Class Time, CAPE Studies. I'm Miss Taylor, and this is Management of Business. Today, we will be looking at business objectives. So before we go into the lesson, I just want to introduce you to my preference for the recommended text. All right, so this is CAPE Management of Business. And it is a Macmillan and it's Jerome Peterson. So this textbook is both for Unit 1 and Unit 2. So if you're not sure if you want to be doing Unit 2, it is still recommended that this is the best one for you to purchase. All right, so this is a very good book. I love it and you will love it too. All right, so let's get into the lesson. So we're going to be looking at some objectives for today's lesson. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to explain the nature, the role, and the importance of business objectives. You should also be able to outline the hierarchy of objectives, as well as to differentiate between the types of objectives. You should also be able to write meaningful and relevant objectives. All right, so we're going to get into things right now. Before I even mention anything about business objectives to you, what I want from you students, grab your book, grab your pen, and you're going to write 3 objectives for yourself, just a general question. You're going to be looking at life, career, and relationships. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to just write that down. And of course, I want you to share your responses with me, all right? Because you know that we're going to be interacting, all right? Yes. All right, so let's hear the responses now. We're looking at objectives. We all have objectives for ourselves. So for life, probably you would have written down that you want to have a family. Of course, we all want to have a family, a happy home. You want to have the dream car, all right? So that's a life objective there for you. What about career? I'm hearing very good. For your career, you want to be an accountant. That's awesome. Somebody else? Engineer. Awesome. All right, so that's your career objective. Relationships. You might have written down that you want to build a better relationship with mommy or daddy or little cousin or brother. That's fine. Or I heard somebody else mention a relationship with God. Awesome. All right, so those are your general life, career, and relationship objectives. Let's get into things now. What is an objective? Think about it. You just wrote down some objectives for yourself. This is not my objectives, they're yours. What is an objective? As we have here, something we seek to achieve. It's a must. We're looking at just a general thing. What is it that you want to achieve at the end of a specific period? We also have that business objectives perform the role or a compass or guideline, the key term here, compass or guideline in keeping the business on track. Very good. Let's think about it for a second. We're on business objectives. Before we can even say that we're a profitable company, we must be able to set some targets that we want to achieve in the near future, right? Of course, because without these objectives, it's like we don't know what we're going to be doing. We don't know if we want to do X, we don't know if we want to do Y. So in having or setting objectives, we know that these are targets that we want to meet, and we're going to have different steps in reaching them. But I want you to pause for a second and think about this. Aims versus objectives. What are aims? What are objectives? Think about it. I heard you. Very good. So aim is a general thing that you want to achieve, as you stated, Brian. Awesome job, Brian. And for objectives now, we're looking at the steps in arriving at that particular aim. Awesome. You guys are very bright, man. Very good. So I want you to note, aim is a general thing that you might achieve for your company. However, for the business objectives, not the objectives, these are the steps that you're going to take in achieving that aim. You might not achieve the aim, but you will achieve your objectives. All right, we're following. Very good. We're going to be looking now at the hierarchy of objectives, But before we look at the hierarchy, let us go into the nature, the role, and the importance, because we need to know why is it that we're setting objectives. We want to know a little more in depth about objectives. Objectives serve as a guide for one, evaluating performance. It measures success in achieving goals over time. As stated in the definition for what objectives are, these are guidelines. Is that we're using a compass for direction. We know what we use compass for. Awesome. So we're using this to really set targets. We want to know if it is that what we're doing is going to get to where we want to, or it is that we need to, put a little difference in what we do, change things around a bit, or even do away with certain things that we might have been doing in our organization. The next one is for decision making, sense of purpose and direction. We want to know as managers or even employees, because we're going to be involved in the decision-making process. We want to know that for this decision, we need to reach to certain levels, we need to achieve certain things in order for us to make the best decision for our business. Because remember, this is not personal, this is not about us, this is for the business, this is for the organization that you will be working for. All right, so you want to make the best decision possible. All right. Efficiency. This is a very good one. Employees work in the interest of organization and use resources properly. Functions of business coordinated. So you want to know that what you're doing, the resources that you have, your assets that you have, you're using it effectively and efficiently so that you will achieve the objective at the end. So you have your timeline and things that you're working towards. So you want to use them appropriately, hence the efficiency of using up your resources. All right. Consistency is the other one. Employees work towards common purpose. This one here is a very important one as well, because we're working with people. Remember, we're not doing this alone. We're in this together. Therefore, you want to know that you and your colleague, you're on the same page. So at the end of the day, if boss should come in and check, your supervisor should come in and check, you know that we're working to build 50,000 units. You're not here thinking that, it's 5, and your employees, they're thinking it's 50. You want to ensure that you're on the same page, so you're working towards the same thing at the end of the day. All right? So I hope that you remember all of these important things. All right. We're going to be looking now at the hierarchy of objectives. A hierarchy exists. One leads to the fulfillment of the other. All right, let us look at it. When you hear of the word hierarchy, what comes to mind? I'm listening. Very good. We're looking at levels, right? So we're moving from one level to the other level. So in order for us to reach the B, we must go through A. Awesome. Very good. So we're going to be looking at the different hierarchies of objectives. And the very first one we have here, strategic objectives. These are the core, so they're at the top there, the core objectives. These are the objectives that we might say the CEO might be involved in. They're the ones who will be making these decisions or be creating the objectives that we need to work towards achieving. All right, so that's strategic objectives. The other one now, tactical objective. Remember, we're looking at hierarchy of objectives, and you would have mentioned hierarchies, the levels of objectives. So in order for us to reach the strategic, we must be coming from another level, and that level is the tactical objective. These objectives, they must be achieved if strategic objectives are to be reached. So I hope you're seeing why we stated about the level of objectives, all right? And the final one that we will be looking at for today's class is operational objective. So in order for us to meet these objectives, we must ensure that tactical objectives are to be obtained. So again, remember, for hierarchy of objectives, we're looking at the levels. So you move from one to the other. You can't just jump from operational and reach to strategic. No, you have to do it from operational, tactical, and then to strategic. I hope you're seeing what I'm saying, all right? Awesome. We're going to be looking at mission statement because we would have mentioned about the aim and we would have mentioned about business objectives, of course. But remember, we're all business-minded right now. So certain things is a must for us to know. And I know that we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there. You want to be doing your own thing, right? So these are the basis or the basics that you need to know in order for your company to be profitable, all right? So for a mission statement, what is it? It captures attitudes and expectations of the employees. So just to pause and think about it. Have you ever gone to an organization or even at school, and in the office you might have seen where they have mission statement, vision statement? Think about it. Yes? Very good. So the mission statement there would have been the expectations from that particular organization or institution. They're putting it out there for the general public. So if you should be a part of my system, this is what I expect from you. This is the attitude that I expect from you. These are the things that you need to work towards. So the mission statement is really a guide as well. Very good. All right. So we're going to be moving on. We're going to be looking now at an example. I just asked a question. Some of you would have probably paused and say, yes, I remember seeing mission statement, but now I hope you're understanding better and clearer what we're talking about when we talk about mission statement. All right. So we have an example here, TVJ's mission statement. So TVJ's mission statement says, Television Jamaica is dedicated to providing a motivational environment that inspires our team to create innovative content that engages, informs, and entertains a worldwide audience. So when you look at this statement here, you already know what TVJ is about. Yes, it's for entertainment, but it's not just for one audience, but this is worldwide. All right, so you will have an understanding of what it is. Awesome. So we're on the same track. We're going to be looking at short-term versus long-term objectives. And would have mentioned earlier the types of objectives that we'll be looking at for today's lesson. So we're going to be looking at the target groups for these objectives, the time period, and we're going to be looking at some examples. So you will know what we're talking about when we talk about objectives, all right? Strategic. The target groups for strategic, top management. Question. Who are these persons for top management you think would be in charge of these types of objectives, the strategic objectives? What did you say? Very good. We're talking about higher level management, so the CEO would come into play here. Awesome job. I see that you're paying attention, man. Very good. So we're going to be looking at the time period now for strategic objective. What is the time period? Remember we said that we can't just set objective and make it general. It must be specific to something. So we have time period for all our objectives. So for top management strategic, it should be 3 to 5 years or even over 5 years. So these are more long term, right? And let us look at an example. To create 2 new products in the next 5 years. We know that when we want to create products or we want to basically come up with different ideas for probably even different branches, it don't just happen overnight. We have to put work into it. So therefore, we cannot just say it's going to be for a year or even 6 months. That will not be realistic. And we're going to get into that type of things later in the lesson. So for 5 years, we know that this would be a long-term objective, which goes back to strategic objectives. All right, let us look at the other one. Tactical. So we mentioned for strategic that you have the top level management basically making these objectives, right? So we have middle management for tactical. Who do you think would be considered middle management? Think about it. Middle management. Very good. Supervisors. I heard somebody else. Heads of departments. Awesome. No, bright, sir. Very good, guys. All right. So for the middle management, these would have been your supervisors, your heads of your departments. Awesome. The time period now for tactical objectives, we're looking at more medium term. So 1 to 3 years, we can achieve these objectives. All right. Let us look at an example. To increase production by 10% in 2 years. So we're really looking here now at production. Because remember, we want to manufacture, we want to create goods. So is it that what we're doing is enough? Or we can make a little more? Because remember, we all go into business to make a profit, right? So we want to be looking at the production aspect. We can increase that. So we're going to be increasing by 10%. And relatively in 2 years, that can happen. All right, so we're going to be moving on now to operational objectives. And as we stated, this is the lower level management, right? So for the target group for operational, lower level. Good. So we're looking at us even making certain objective or the decisions there, right? We would be in charge of that. All right. For the time period, however, it would be more short term because remember, strategic is more long term, and for tactical, it's in the middle there, so it's more medium term. However, for operational, no, this is short term. So we're looking at a 1 day to a year. We can have objectives being achieved for operational in even a month. All right, so let's look at an example. To meet weekly production quotas of 5,000 items. So if you realize we don't need 5 years to achieve this objective. So this will happen probably on a weekly basis because of the type of company, again, we're manufacturing, we're producing goods. So therefore, we're really looking at unit, how much outcome we're going to be getting, all right? And it is for 500 items. I think we can manage that on a weekly basis. You don't think that? Definitely, because it is operational objective. All right. We have a little picture right here that I want you to look at for a second. Goal setting. And we have what we call an acronym here. But we know the word for it is SMART. But the S, the M, the A, the R, and the T, they're different. They mean different things. All right, so we're going to get into the meaning of them as it relates to objectives. So let's look at the S. The S here is for specific. And I'm sure that you'd heard me mention about objectives being specific, right? We're going to look at that later on. For the M, measurable. What are we talking about when we mention measurable? Why should objectives be measurable? Attainable, or we can even use achievable for the A as well. The next one here is R, relevant. What's the relevance of this? You ever look at something and you say, what's the relevance of this? Like, tell me now, why did you do that? Yes, we're going to look at that as it relates to objectives. And lastly, time bound. We have to put time on certain things. Don't you agree? For sure, for objectives. So let us look at them now. So as I stated, the acronym SMART. That's what we use for the objectives. How is it that we write our objectives in companies? Specific. Objectives should be quantifiable and precise. For example, to increase retail sales by 15%. So if you realize here, it is to the point, it is clear. I don't even have to stop and ask, sir, what do I need to do? Or madam, what do I need to do? It is right there. So for specific, the S there for specific, it means that you're clear. I don't need to ask any question because I know what exactly I'm supposed to be doing. All right? For measurable now, we want to put a value to the objective that we want to achieve. We don't just want to write fenke objective, because remember, we want our companies to strive, right? That's what we're here for. We want to hear about our company out there in the general public, that you're being profitable, all right? So we want to ensure that our objectives, they're on point. So for measurable, we need to put value to it. So if you look at the example, to increase retailing sales by $10,000. So for the first example, it was about percent. So we're just being specific as to how much sales we want to increase to or increase by. But for the measurable now, we put in money, we put in figures. Yeah, man, you love hear about money, so we put in money to the objective now. So we know what is it that we're going to be achieving, all right? For attainable or achievable, while the objectives should encourage people to work harder, achieving them should be within their reach. You know, at times, companies think that we're just here to make a lot of money and I don't care what you want to do. You're going to ensure that at the end, we get the profit margin or we reach the profit margin that we want to get to. You have to think about your employees. You have to stop for a second and think. Is it that if I put this in place, they can achieve this by the end of such period? So you have to think about the persons involved in really meeting the objectives. So you want to ensure that, yes, of course, if I should say that I want this objective, it can be achievable when you put everything together. All right, so you have to think about things like that. For relevance now, it should be relevant or realistic. A lot of times you will look at certain things and say, I wonder if boss things say, me gonna make this make me go crazy. Why? Because you're saying, boss, I cannot do this. I cannot reach to that limit that you want. In 2 days, how am I going to do that? Because sometimes you know that we just think about the money and we're not being real. Can we achieve this? So you're looking at profit margin again. Because remember, I know we're going to business to make a profit. We're all about the money. All right. So can it be a case where you're going to be getting an objective to achieve by the end of a month and you have to make, say, for example, $2 million. Your company is not that profitable when you look at the books. When you check the balance sheet and the trading profit and loss, you're saying, no, man, we need to up our game in selling our goods or whatever service we're rendering so that money can come in. So when setting objectives, we must be realistic. So remember that. And the final one here that we're looking at, timely. They have a time limit of when the objectives should be achieved. So remember, from the beginning of the lesson, I said to you, for generally speaking, we're talking about aim. You're not being too specific. You're not sure when you want this to achieve. But remember now, for objectives, you want to ensure that your objectives are SMART. So you must put a time frame towards when is it that you want to achieve a particular goal or objective then, right? So time bound, for example, you want to achieve by the end of the financial year, by the end of 2 years, or even by the end of a month, depending again on your objectives, all right? So I hope that information sink in, all right? We're going to be looking now at a class activity. But before we even look at the class activity, I just want to remind you now that when you're writing objectives, they should be smart. So please remember that they should be smart. So what we're going to do with this activity is that we're going to look through and we're going to decide together. Yes, you're working with me. I'm not doing it alone. You're not doing it alone. We're doing this together. So we're going to be looking at this activity and you're going to tell me if you think these objectives are smart and you're going to tell me why. Let's go. So the first one we have here, a mobile phone service provider has a target of reducing customers' complaints from 6% to 3% within the next 12 months. Take a minute. Not really a minute, but a couple seconds, because I know you guys are brilliant students. Think about it. Do you think this objective here is a smart objective? Very good. Yes, indeed. This is a smart objective. But why do you say it is a smart objective? Remember now in Miss Taylor's class, you cannot just say yes or no. You must explain your answer. All right, because I want to know what's up here. So because we're looking now at reducing customers' complaints, and there is a measurable thing to remember. Now it's specific, so we can look at the S for that one. It is measurable, of course. We're looking at 6% to 3%. And we have the time frame here, right? So we can look at it to say this objective is indeed smart, because it's not a case where I have to pause and ask, what exactly is the objective? What do we want to achieve? By what time do we want to achieve this? Is it realistic for it to get done? So this is a smart objective. Let us now look at the other one. A cricket team wants to improve performance in the future. Do you think this is a smart objective? No, I don't think so too. Why is this not a smart objective? The elements are not present. The specific, the measurable, and so forth, they're not present here because it just stated to improve performance. How is it that we're going to improve performance? By when? You understand? Right. So we have to ensure that all elements are present when we are writing an objective. Let's move on to the other one. A wellness center and spa sets an objective of becoming the best in the market. I mean, it says best. Do you think this is smart? I think it is smart. You don't think so? Very good. It's not a smart objective. I was just playing with you to see if you're following. All right? So it's just stated that the best in the market. But how is it that you're going to get there? What we're talking about when we say best? Best in what area? So you realize it is not specific, right? You don't have a time frame there. So we don't even know what is it exactly that you want to achieve. All right? I heard somebody said something. Yes, awesome. This could have been an aim. Because remember earlier, we mentioned the difference with an aim and an objective. So I realize you're following, man. Awesome. So this here would have been aim instead of objective. Let us look at number 4. A hardware firm has the objective of increasing sales revenue by 5% this year. Do you think this is smart? I think so too. Awesome. So we're increasing sales revenue. That is specific because we know that we're talking about sales. We want to increase it, all right? But how much is it that we're increasing it by? 5%. When? For this year. So we realize that all elements are present in this objective. Awesome. And the final one, number 5. A local tinned food manufacturing business desires to increase market share from 15% to 60% within the next 4 years. Is this smart? Even though it looks like it just have a lot of words. Do you think it is smart? Yes, it is a smart objective. Again, all elements of a smart objective is right here. It is present in this objective. So we can say that this is indeed SMART. Very good, guys. I realize you're really getting what we're doing. But before we even recap, right, I just want to mention something to you, objectives, because you might be there thinking, you know, we have gone through a lot of information, and you're probably there thinking, but let me just use a scenario for objectives, right? You know that we have different types of businesses. So let us just look at a tour company, for example. If it is that you have a tour company, right? Remember, we're on objectives now, right? You want to ensure that you have your SMART objectives. You want to ensure that you make your objectives, because at the end of the day, as a company, as a tour company, you don't just want to be there advertising that, oh, I can bring you on tours, I can bring you to Ochi, I can bring you to Portland, but you want to ensure that you have objectives in place. Is it that you're going to be telling the public that you do small groups versus larger groups? Or you can even do one-on-one, have a one-on-one client base, right? So you want to make objectives like, for example, if it is that you're just starting out, right? How is it that you're going to attract customers? Because remember, we wanna make money. This is a profit-making company. So how is it you're gonna attract customers? So you wanna think about some ideas like, for example, social media. Promoting your business on social media is a plus, especially in times like this. So for that tour company, you wanna ensure that that's an objective to promote your business. Say, for example, you have just 300 followers because you're new, fairly new. You want to increase your customer base or the followers by, say, 5 or 10%, right? By the end of 2 months. So when you check back after 2 months, you have probably over 1,000. So you have to push the promotion there. That's an objective you want to achieve. So if you do what is it that you need to get there, then chances are you must or you will achieve that objective. All right? So let's just do a little recap. An objective defines the organization's purpose and direction. So remember now, without having your objectives, you might not know what is going to happen in the end. Where do I see myself from now? You have to set objectives. Just as how you will have objectives for yourself, you want to ensure that in companies, you do the same. You're not just there waking up, going to work, you don't know what you want to achieve, so you set your objectives. Also, objectives that are well written should be SMART. As how my students are, you're very smart students, right? So that is specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic or relevant, and timely. So once you look at an objective and it has all elements, you know that this is indeed a SMART objective, all right? And the other thing that we want to recap on, the hierarchy of objectives outlines the firm's vision, mission statement, strategic, tactical, and operational objectives. So I hope that you're really looking at what we have been doing, you're really grasping the information, and at the end, you should be able to tell me 2 things, objectives, all right? So let us look at this simple assignment for you, all right? So I hope that you understood the lesson for today, business objectives. It is very, very important at the starting of your, whatever field you're in, to make objectives for yourself, for your company. Target is a must for you to achieve. So in order for you to get where you want to get to, you must make objectives. So don't just sit around and be like, oh, I can achieve this, or oh, I can achieve that. All right, so you want to make some objectives so that it will be better for you. And in making these objectives, you realize that you're tracking. You can keep a track on certain things. So if it is that you need to change a few things, in looking back at what you would have set from the get-go, you can say, but no man, we need to take this out or we need to put this in. Remember for the time frame as well. Is it that you're slacking off because you think that you have a whole year leave? No, you need to think about these things so that at the end you will be successful. All right? So what I want you to do for me, just to look at this assignment. So you're going to be writing 3 SMART objectives of any organization. If it is that you want to come up with a business of your own, that's even better. Be creative, be innovative, right? So just think about what we have done in class today, and you're going to now write your 3 SMART objectives. But before you even look at the assignment, I want you now to look back at your objectives. From the beginning of the class, I want you to go back to those objectives. We're there? Awesome. What I want you to do, from what we would have learned today, you're going to take a second to analyze those objectives. Is it that the objectives that you wrote are SMART objectives? Remember, these are your personal objectives. I know this is not about a company. This is for you. But are these objectives SMART? Look at them. Remember, you'd have mentioned about you wanting a family. Some of you said that for your relationship, you want to build a better relationship with God, with mommy, right? You want to be an accountant, an engineer, whatever it is that you wrote. Are those objectives SMART? I heard somebody say no, miss. All right, let me hear why you said no. All right, so for your objective about building a better relationship with God, it is not a SMART objective, but how can you change that around for it to be a SMART objective? I'm listening. All right, awesome. So you said that you don't really go to church on a Saturday or a Sunday. So you can basically think about going to church. I'm not saying no every Sunday or every Saturday. We don't want to be drastic, all right? Because we want to reach somewhere. We have to take steps, take our time sometimes, right? So you're going to ensure that you wake up early and you go to church with mommy or daddy or grandma. Good. So in doing that, you realize now that you're being more specific. You have a goal, you have an objective that you want to achieve. So it's not just talking about building a better relationship with God, but you're putting things in place. You're going to try to go to church Sunday or Saturday or whenever you go to church, right? So that is being more specific there. And it can happen. It's a real thing there. So you're building that relationship. You're taking the different stages and steps. All right, so please to look at the assignment, and I want you to ensure that you do this activity, because in doing the activity, it will give you a sense of if it is that you understood what we taught today, or you need to read over a little. All right,